A huge downdraft in stocks here, the third broadest base sell-off that we've seen in the S&P, Carol, all year long.
Yeah, that's what I think is so notable, right? You know, often we've seen a split in the S&P 500 on a day of selling, but this is pretty broad-based. And if you look, it's been about 2.5 hours that we continue to see these major equity averages kind of hover along the bottom, try to rally, and kind of can't get there. So, yeah, it's pretty depressed going into the weekend.
Not a good day to go to the weekend. So the S&P 500, the general stock market's been getting hammered for a while. You know, what do you do in these kind of things? You know, let's keep watching.
And really the question then becomes, guys, as you see the VIX tick up as well, is will that Wednesday be the clearing event for equities? And do we all breathe a sigh of relief? There are indications that the options market's kind of ignoring Wednesday to some extent and focusing more on Jobs Friday.
So if you don't know, the VIX is an indication of volatility and how scared the market is. Basically, negative sentiment.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, you did see some elevation in the VIX right now, camped out just below 22. And we were speaking with the global president of SIBO earlier. He talked a lot about the complexion of the market, and you can just pull it up on your Bloomberg terminal here. You look at that put-call ratio. We're not really seeing panic. People are hedging, certainly, but not to any extreme that we've seen in other downdrafts in this market. It is red across the screen. You pick an index, most likely it was down. Probably the only saving graces you're going to find in the utility space, in the pharmaceutical space, and to a smaller extent, real estate. The Dow Jones Industrial Average losing more than 700 points on the day, or about 1.7%. The S&P 500 down more than 100 points, or about 2% on the day as we wait for these numbers to settle.
Now, that's a big jump right there, right? I mean, 2% for the S&P 500, that's a big, big drop if you consider it's the whole S&P 500. A bigger drop on the NASDAQ, 2.7, that's in one day. And weekly and monthly, it's been down quite a bit.
55.80 and change is roughly about where it's going to end the day. The NASDAQ composite down almost 500 points or 2.7%. Similar decline for the NASDAQ 100. The Russell 2000 is going to close out the day lower by 2%. All the major indices lower on the week.
All right, and just digging a little bit deeper, as we've been talking about in the S&P 500 here on this Friday, 411 names in the S&P 500 lower today, guys. 92 actually gaining ground, but again, as we've been talking about, pretty broad-based in terms of selling on this Friday.
And when you take a look at the
So it's not just a few of the big stocks taking us down. It's the whole market.
Map of the 11 S&P sectors on the day. Only one of those sectors was in the green. Utilities posting up a gain of about 0.8% here on the day. Everything else was lower, and that includes some big downdrafts on the day and on the week. For a weekly basis, the one sector that dragged everything down, you can guess, that's tech. Tech sector down 3.6%. Communication services, which is basically tech as well, down 3.2%.
All right, a lot of red across the screen.
All right, a lot of red across the screen. The whole market's going down. It's going down pretty significantly. Now, what do? You panic sell or you don't? You know, you panic sell, freak out. Don't do that. If you're a long-term investor, dollar cost averaging. This is not financial advice, by the way. This is just what I'm doing. Right, but if you're a long-term investor, it's easier for you to kind of handle these. But if you're a day trader or stock trader, whatever, then that's something to worry about. But leave a comment below. Are you a trader? Are you a day trader? Are you just trading occasionally, or are you a long-term investor? Leave me a comment.
And this gets us to the question of kind of where these catalysts are going to be to move this market, in theory, higher. Whether it does become, I don't know, that April 2nd event. That is Wednesday, and we had Julian Emanuel on the program earlier, guys, who talked about this idea that, in his view, he does think that could be a market clearing event, meaning the uncertainty now becomes certainty, and you can trade around it. You also have earnings next week out of RH, and on Friday, you have that big jobless report, that monthly jobs report is what I'm trying to say, guys.
It's easy. Well said.
Yeah,
well said.
So
okay.
Hopefully it will contain
Maybe we're
jobs.
looking for some jobless
It'll be job
stuff.
full. How about that?
Hey, listen, there's a lot going on and a lot to keep track of. I think it's interesting what he has to say. And yeah, if the uncertainty is truly taken out, but if I don't know, 24 hours later after that happens, the president comes out and introduces something new or says, maybe I'll roll back. Like, I think that's the hard environment for folks who've got to put money to work, or if you're running a company at this point, to make decisions.
Okay, so right now on the S&P 500, we closed at 55.80 today. That's basically higher than where we closed a little earlier in the month. If you go back to March 13th, 55.21 was the low. We'll see what happens next week, but I think people would be concerned if we start to reach new lows in this session.
Back below our 200-day too, though, right?
Yeah,
in the S&P.
But do we get by the dips? That's the question.
That's the question, right? If the market is getting hammered so much, then as investors, do we say, oh no, let's panic and sell? Or do we say, hey, do we buy the dips, right? Like I said earlier, 2% discount on the S&P 500, 2.5 discount on the NASDAQ. That's pretty significant fall, and it's been falling for the past few weeks. So, do you deploy additional capital? That's why we always hold at least, 10% cash. At least that's what I try to do and tell my kids to do, right? We don't try to time the market, but if something like this happens, we're like, oh, well, this obviously might be a good chance to jump in. Let's see what they have to say.
So JP Morgan Market Intelligence this morning said that retail was still buying the dip in some of the Mag 7 stocks, not in the same way.
Retail means people like me and you, not not institutional investors.
Way that it might have done during other sell-offs, but they did buy Tesla, they did buy Nvidia, and some increased interest in Amazon. So there is still that there within the market.
Yeah, but it's interesting too. I mean, I was looking at the CFTC data that came out today, and obviously this only goes through Tuesday, so it doesn't really reflect any of the sentiment for the last 3 sessions here. But you are seeing a lot of folks betting on a weaker dollar. You are seeing folks pull some chips off the table when it comes to their bets for a higher market. And we remember we came into this week with several key Wall Street strategists lowering their outlook for the S&P 500, including HSBC and a few others.
That's good. I want people to be more negative. Can I say that? Am I allowed to give
No, you can't.
Oops, I said it. No, but I do.
That goes against the code.
Okay, well, I broke the code.
Why so negative, Carol?
No, but I just think when everybody's so upbeat, it makes me always so nervous. And I think, realistically, there are some real challenges out there. And I think especially when you, again, get stuff from D.C. where you're not quite sure, okay, is this it? Can we kind of make decisions based off of it?
But I think that's what the really challenging part is, as we talked about yesterday. Liberation Day next week, as the president has been calling it. What happens on...
It is nice to see someone showing negativity, while other people are just trying to blow smoke, right?
April 2nd, when he announces the details on these tariffs, because what we've seen over the last couple of months is he's changed his mind pretty frequently. Yeah. And if world leaders say something to him, make comments about the border, for example, what they're doing in Canada versus what they're doing in Mexico, he could go back on it.
And we should point out, too, I mean, the uncertainty isn't just around Trump himself. We're still waiting to hear what Canada's retaliation is going to look like, what Mexico, if they're going to do anything. And then, of course, there's still the elephants in the room when it comes to China and Europe. And I think that could have a more outsized effect. We might get certainty here. Are we going to have certainty on the other side of the border?
So negative sentiment happening in the S&P 500. Let me know your comments on what you think, and let me know what you guys are going to do. As always, like I said, we're not in panic mode or anything like that. We're evaluating if there's times to buy. When most people are fearful, it's time to get greedy. When most people are greedy, it's time to get fearful. That kind of thing of Warren Buffett, right? Very, very good quote from him, but it's kind of hard to bear sometimes when you see your portfolio, kind of shrinking like that. But, it's ups and downs in the stock market. Leave me a comment below. And if you want some free stocks, hit up my link for Robinhood, an easy trading platform, not sponsored or anything, but something that I actually use. And you get free stocks, and I get free stocks if you join up and start trading. All right. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. And make sure you watch one of these next videos here, and I'll see you there.